He leading the league in passing yards or something like that.
Yeah, Mahomes is behind him by like 60 yards or something
Like,
now, or 50.
Oh man, when you're shunned, listen, when you're shunned from winning a baggie, there's hell to pay.
You have to pay the consequences will occur after that.
all right, guys. Well,
That's fun.
thank you for a wonderful year. I'd love to say. I mean, we're gonna talk again on the 30th. So the year's not over yet, but
Yeah, not quite.
this was
Well,
this has been a very eventful award show, and drive home safely. Okay, now for the big award, the Pittsburgh Sports Person of the Year. This is defined as for better or for worse has done most to influence Pittsburgh sports. The nominees are Le'Veon Bell, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, and Sidney Crosby. And the winner is Le'Veon Bell. He is not here to accept the award, but accepting on his behalf is from KDKA TV, Rick Dayton. Rick, I can't believe we got you.
Whatever you do, do not put the franchise tag on me. Do you understand?
There's
Do not slap the tag on me. Listen, I'm going to report I'm not coming to training camp. I'll be there in time for the first game, all right?
Oh, no. Oh,
Wait
no.
a second. Wait a second. Hang a second. Somebody's talking to me here in the club. My jet skis. What? What happened? Oh, okay. It's going to be week 9, okay? It'll be after the bye. I'll be in then after week 9. And, oh, by the way, laughing, crying face after the Browns tied you emoji 5 times on my phone. Okay, we're good. What's going on?
You just summed up the entire saga right there, and
what an absolute cluster it was from the beginning to the end, wasn't it? And the thing is, every time people are like, "Oh, I wanted to be here," no, I don't want to be here. I love him. I hate him. I mean, it has been. How often do you, as the best player on your team and arguably one of the best in the league after last year, how do you make it so an entire fan base can't stand you? And that literally is what he managed to do. It almost got to the point where the team said, we would rather lose and go 8-8 and miss the playoffs with anybody else. Even before Connor became a really, really good option at that running back position, it almost became, we don't care about winning anymore in Pittsburgh as long as we don't have to deal with Le'Veon Bell. It's I've not seen anything like it in my years in covering news and sports, the way that a fan base turned from everybody wearing a number 26 jersey, to saying, boy, I don't care if I ever put that on again. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
It really was amazing, the entire story. And what I would love to know is what actually happened. What actually was he thinking?
Yeah.
Was this his plan all along, or did things change and he just went with it, or who knows? But wow, what if he did come back? Like, what was it, like, mid-November or something like that was the deadline?
You're saying like week 10 or something after the bye, and that was another deadline. I didn't even think about that in my summary. Was that, okay, now we're watching, he's got until 4 o'clock to sign the tender. He's got 4 o'clock until to sign the franchise tag, and if he then does, he'll be eligible to play, and if he misses it, then he can't play anywhere. It's not just in Pittsburgh, but can't play anywhere in the league. Yeah, I mean, it completely even forgot about that. If he comes back, I mean, keep in mind, James Conner gets hurt almost immediately after that transpired. Was it 1 week, right? Was
Basically,
a week later?
Yeah.
And so then Conner's got a high ankle sprain, and people are not sure, how available he's going to be even going forward, because those high ankle sprains take a long time to heal. I mean, and I think this is what a lot of, and you heard on sports radio, I mean, you know full well what the talk in Pittsburgh was. If somebody gets hurt, who's your option? Well, Jalen Samuel stepped in, and also, by the way, there were 3 guys from the Steelers offensive line going to the Pro Bowl. So that also, let's not lose sight of the fact that you've got road graders up front clearing the way. I'd say that I could run through them, but it wouldn't be much of a run. It'd be more like a saunter or a jog.
I was just going to say saunter.
Yeah, it would not be a run. But no, I mean, let's be completely honest, that they really have an embarrassment of riches up front and have been really, really good, even though their right tackle's been out for a lot this year too. So yeah, there's a lot of things to talk about when it comes to your Sportsman of the Year, and I don't think there's any question. There are probably more people said that name this year when it comes to Pittsburgh sports than any other.
I just can't, especially I think the big thing was that Labor Day weekend because everybody thought, oh, he's going to do the same exact thing as last year. He's going to skip training camp. He's going to show up that first week, and everything will be fine. And he didn't show up, and I think he even lied to his teammates, because even his teammates were saying, oh, don't worry, he'll be here Wednesday. He'll be here. Don't worry, he'll be here. And he didn't. And even the teammates went off on him.
Yeah, and I think that was probably the final straw when it comes to sinking him, if you will, was that when some of his teammates, basically said, okay, listen, if you're not here, we've got to move on. And I think that, from a healthy locker room standpoint, you can't be saying, oh, well, because what does that do to your confidence in the guy who is carrying the ball? You can't do that. So, these guys are professional athletes. And from that, sometimes you have to realize that there is business out there that sometimes fans can't separate, but players know they have to separate from the equation. And that is, guys got to do what a guy's got to do. And I maybe don't like it personally, but it's business and it's not personal. I'm not going to take it personally. I don't know. Maybe some of the Steelers did take it personally, but, there was no question that was the talk for a long time. And I think after a while, the players just got sick of talking about it. They just did not. And Coach Tomlin certainly did too. We want to go into battle with guys we have here. I mean, you heard the comments too. So, yeah, I think that they got really, really tired of talking about it.
That was a whole other aspect of it. Every single week on Tomlin's press conference, when Ben had his show, all of the players, every week they got asked about Le'Veon Bell. I was like, when's he coming? Did you hear from him? Did you? Every single week and every single work they had to answer. And you're right. I did hear them say, you know what, we're sick of talking about it. Why don't you ask the guy that's actually doing this instead of asking us all the time? So that really was
and let's be complete. It took away from the fact that they got off to a bad start, but then they raced through a section of their schedule where they just started stringing wins together and putting up some big numbers. And, Juju was doing great things, and Connor was putting up 100-yard games, and they were scoring points. And, the defense was okay. And then they roughed up Carolina. They blew them out and put 190 points on the board that night. And, all of a sudden people are thinking this is a juggernaut. And then it spins the other way. And then, oh, don't we wish we had – I mean, it's funny how when you just sort of watch the pulse of sort of the ebb and the tide of Steelers – fan sentiment. I mean, it's been an amazing year from that regard. It really has.
Yeah. But imagine if he did come back. Imagine if he did, and that first home game in Heinz Field, and they introduce him, or he comes out there. Could you imagine the response? I mean, I would have never. I know the entire stadium would boo him, and it's like, what a crazy situation.
Until he breaks off a 92-yard screen pass for a touchdown with 9 seconds left to win a game. I mean, let's be completely honest.
True. All would be forgiven.
One big game-winning play. Right. I mean, it's almost, let's say it's the same thing as Chris Boswell, but I mean, it's very, very similar, right? Boswell bangs for a 48-yarder. Boom, we're up by a touchdown as opposed to being up by 4 over Brady. And now all of a sudden, Boswell, is that his redemption? Redemption, I don't know. I do think that the fans have been very frustrated with him too. I mean, so much so that he's not on Twitter anymore. So I don't, is there a reason? I don't know. I have not talked to him for him to say this is why I'm not on there. But the conjecture is that at some point he's sick and tired of looking at it and reading it.
He received horrible comments.
Oh, fans are disgusting. Fans are absolutely disgusting.
It's sad, and
I'm sure you get it too. I mean, there have to be people who are ridiculing you. What do you mean you're a bag of donuts? Why aren't you a box? Why aren't you a great big crate? Why aren't you like an airline carrier of donuts? I mean, aren't you good enough, Mr. Donuts, that you can do something other than a bag? I mean, I'm sure you get sick and tired of it too, right?
I do get, and I'm basically nobody. I mean, you're a big celebrity. You must get some of it too.
Huge. Oh yeah, I'm huge. I mean, I'm really tall. I'm really, really tall, and I wear big shoes. Really, really big shoes. So yeah, I'm huge celebrity.
Now,
huge.
Most of the news people that I've ever met are short, and you're really tall. How did this happen? Like, you?
I don't know, but there are lots of running jokes. I mean, in the studio they have boxes for people who have to work with me because they stand them on boxes, so we look about the same height, or their chairs go way, way up, and mine goes. It's almost like I'm sitting on the floor, and they're as high as they possibly can. So yeah, we do some of that kind of stuff, and the photographers in the field some of them really like it because they get to use parts of their tripod that they've never used before. It's like, whoa, I've never had my tripod up this high before. So yeah, that's really kind of fun to be able to do that with them.
I can imagine.
Yep.
I mean, you have to be a good foot taller than some of the people you work with.
Oh yeah, I tell Heather all the time, Heather Abraham, that I could put her in my pocket and carry her to the newsroom if we needed to, because she's the tiniest little thing that there is. So yep, no, there's a lot of truth to that. There really is.
Oh, that's great. Well, Rick, thank you so much. This was
Oh, glad to do it. And I think you hit it right on the head. I mean, of the nominees that you had there, there's absolutely no question that has got to.
Okay.
We're talking about this year for sure.
Yeah. Well, Rick, thank you so much for coming on, and and have a nice holidays.
Hey, Merry Christmas.
All right, that does it for the Baggies. Hey, why are you clapping? Are you clapping because it's over, or because it was so good, or what? Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with an episode covering the best moments of the podcast. Thanks again to Rick Dayton, Mark Haglauer, Coach Warzoo, and everyone that has been on the podcast this year. It has been an amazing year. Talk to you later. Another episode is in the bag.